Croeso. It's Friday, it's sometime in the afternoon, and it's Dragonheart. Gold. He's 27 years old. He makes defenders' blood run cold. He's half Nigerian. He scored in Woking. He is gold. Today, we'll be chatting about Wrexham's win at Woking, the amusing European Superleague and its repercussions for Wrexham, and looking at the players we should never have released in the first place. So, what are we waiting for? Let's do Dragonheart.
I'm Fiacre Kelleher, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio Show.
Yes, welcome to Dragonheart. I'm Mark Griffiths. That guy over there is Chay Long. Hi, Chay.
Hi, Mark. It's been an absolute dramatic week for Wrexham fans and football fans in general, isn't it?
I know, it's been a bit mad. We'll try and reflect a bit of that. It's going to be weird talking about European Super League because things are happening so quickly. Maybe we've got perfect timing talking about it now because we seem to have reached, for the moment at least, a point where everything's settled down. So I think there's some points to be made about that idea in reference to us though. So interesting to talk about.
Yeah, it'd be nice to talk about it in general and our thoughts, and it's also be nice to talk about it and the fact of if this does happen, it will trickle down and affect us. So, and it's not going to happen, of course, but let's see.
Not yet, anyway. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And then we got another 4-0 win to think about, of course, as you do.
Yeah.
So good. And of course, we appealed a while ago. You called it before we started recording the cursed segment of Dragonheart, and you're quite right. Talking about players we released too soon. We're finally going to be able to do that. Finally, circumstances are allowing it. So.
Yeah, it is literally the cursed segment. So always something happens or something major crops up when we do that segment. But today we will get it chalked off.
Exactly.
Unless something crazy happens and a bomb goes off in one of our houses.
Oh, geez, do you know something I don't?
well, yeah. Maybe not.
After what I say, Florentino Perez might be tempted. But anyway, we'll move on to that in a second. Yeah. So, stuff your Super League. Let's do Dragonheart.
I'm Luke Young, and you're listening to the Dragonheart Radio Show.
Right, so the European Super League. There's a topic for us to start off with. Let's look at that before we look at the Woking game, shall we? And then have a bit of fun later. Okay, first things first. General principles. It's just wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I can't say I'm shocked or surprised either. I could see an announcement like this happening at some point in my lifetime, but I'm just glad that all these clubs actually come to the right decision in the end, even though it was forced by fan outrage, but they saw sense.
They were forced to see sense, weren't they?
Yes, yeah.
Let's be honest. And I mean, for me, I tweeted this at the time, but it really, I thought it was one of those rare moments where I think I got it right in summarising it. This is a revolution planned by people who see Wrexham beat Arsenal and feel sick to the stomach instead of feeling the wonder of football. But that's the best way I can describe it. They only want to protect their profits. They don't want to see how much money they can get out of it. And whether that upsets other people doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the bottom line. And I mean, the Champions League is born out of Napoli when they had Maradona signing a big deal with Italian TV for their European coverage and then getting drawn against a Moscow team. Maradona, I don't think, travels for the first legs. He doesn't fancy going to Russia. And they lose and they can't turn it around in the second leg and they've missed out on all that money. And the Champions League, they reckon, is partly born from big clubs saying, oh, this isn't right. We shouldn't allow this. But, we're the big clubs. We should be guaranteed all the money we can get. And this is just a continuation of that logic, and it's horrible. And of course, for a club like us who are so renowned, it's in our DNA that we are giant killers, to not get the chance to beat the Giants is really despicable, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and it's one of those things when you're a little kid and you dream of your team one day maybe playing Manchester United and Wrexham being a significant fixture. You know, Bournemouth got to the Premier League. Why can't someone like Wrexham?
Yeah.
And they don't want that, don't they? They don't want these little teams to be a significant fixture. And it's so sad. And, you know, these big teams, they don't care about the FA Cup as it is. So imagine if they joined the Super League and the amount they care about the Cup games then. It's a complete mess. And I think they've read the room completely wrong on so many levels, haven't they?
I don't think they cared about the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they expected people to kick off, but crucially, A, not to the extent people did kick off, and B, and crucially, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because I'm not a big fan, because Johnson's government actually did step in. And let's be honest, they didn't step in because they care about footy. They stepped in because, you know, advisors whispered in their ears, look at those chaps getting angry on the streets. They're your red wall voters, they are. That's why they got involved. But I think that was crucial because, I mean, you know, I don't mind giving my opinions in public. I personally am not a fan of Brexit, but it happens that in this case, Brexit has helped fight off the European Super League because we can legislate against stuff like this however the heck we want. You know, I've seen some quite extreme ideas, like not, you know, saying that the European Super League would be an unregistered tournament because the FA wouldn't recognise it, and therefore any unregistered tournament would miss out on a lot of stuff from automatically not being policed, which means it can't go ahead, really, to the idea that work visas won't be given to non-British citizens who are playing in a non-licensed event, which means that all the big six would lose their non-British players and no other European Super League team would be allowed to come in. Well, don't get me wrong, Aaron Ramsey and Kieran Trippier could come in, but the rest of their team couldn't. So, you know, weirdly, that legislative freedom in that sense actually meant that when the government gets involved, that really is saying, well, we can say we can't let our British teams take part in this. Which
is great. And, you know, I'm the biggest criticizer of our government, and it was nice to see them step in, even though, you know, it's obviously for brownie points. It's nothing for more than that. But for me as well, I think a lot of this problem comes from UEFA themselves. You know, I know they're now coming out like smelling like roses, like there's some sort of bastion of social justice, and we do everything right with football. But, you know, the FA, the UEFA, and the Premier League have done this to themselves. They've given these clubs too much power from the start, and these clubs now think they have a divine right to own football, and that's what it's come down to, really, isn't it?
Well, I think it's important that this isn't the end of it. I think it's important that this now is you know, there's a danger, isn't there? Really, people get carried away by a campaign, and then once they think they've won it, they all forget about it. This can't happen. It's got to be driven on from this now. And, you know, the government has got to be held to account. It's promised legislation. It must now give us legislation to safeguard football. I'm not sure how, I've got to be honest, and I'm a little worried about that in a way. And I'm torn on the idea of punishing the clubs simply because I think back to the first team to get points docked because of administration, which was us. And that was just bang out of order. I mean, those listeners who aren't aware of it, I'm sure most of them are, but I'm sort of trying to make it quick. We were run by people who were basically going to shut us down, and the only way to get the power off them was to go into administration, which the two Daves, the two Wrexham fans on the board, did when the chairman rather erratically resigned and gave them a 2-minute window of opportunity. He would need 2 weeks, not 2 minutes. He'd need 2 weeks to call an EGM to reinstate himself, which he would do because he had the majority of votes on the board. And so they took advantage of those 2 weeks and put us in administration, which then meant that he couldn't get control back. So it was a political move to save our football club, not a deliberate, cynical move to save money. And we shouldn't have got that 10-point penalty, I feel, because we were not guilty of the financial doping that it was brought in to combat. But we did get those 10 points, and it hurt us. And I don't think we'd be a non-league if it wasn't for that, because we wouldn't have been relegated from League One, and we'd have been able to hold on to a team that was a mid-table League One side and build from there with Carlos Edwards and different players like that. So I'm wary of saying that point deductions and relegations are a good idea, because I'm not convinced they totally punish the right people.
These have to be punished, though. They have to be. Yeah. I think a transfer embargo would be suitable. Summer in January. I think that would be a suitable punishment. That would really harm a lot of the big clubs, because United are looking to push to win the league again, and Liverpool, aren't they, next season? So I think they certainly need to be punished. And the thing that really ground my gears is, look at West Ham and Leicester this season.
Okay.
They're really spoiling the European party, aren't they, for this top six? It's the fact that they, I don't know. It did really anger me, but
this brings me back to
you expect it from businessmen, don't you? You expect it from rich businessmen. The rich businessmen make this sort of decisions day in, day out. And I think because it's football, we care so much. But when it comes to contracts, the NHS, we seem to look the other way. So maybe we need to rethink the way we think business in general.
Yes, I agree. Although I will say, we've just been bought by two rich businessmen.
Right. So, now this is where I was going to differentiate. This is on my notes, that it's not American businessmen. You can't compare the Glazers to Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. The Glazers are multi-super businessmen, aren't they? They are, crazy businessmen. I was trying to say, you can't. I didn't really like the generalization of fans saying, "Oh, it's Americans who want to Americanize everything." No, it's rich businessmen who want to make money. Look at our owners who are from America and Canada. They actually want to enhance what we've got now, not take away and make it American. I think it's an unfair generalization on Americans in general.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's be fair. Reynolds and McElhenney have already spoken to us much more than Stan Kroenke's ever spoken to the Arsenal fans. Yeah. And you can say the same about the Glazers, can't you, really? Yeah. They also don't shirk away and hide, as everyone did, essentially, except for Florentino Perez. And God bless him for coming out and spouting such crazy nonsense and really driving people against the Super League with his crazy talk of these kids who can't concentrate and who make football 70 minutes long. But whereas our new owners are very different. And I'm glad you said that. It's lazy to just say, "Oh, Americans, the American system." Clearly, they're the opposite end of the spectrum. It's not about where you come from. It's about what you believe in and your values. And I must be honest, I've had to ask myself some questions. When Fleetwood and Crawley both bought promotion ahead of us, I wasn't very happy. And I wrote a thing on the Wrexham fan blog saying about, how angry Crawley made me feel. Not Crawley, Fleetwood. And now I look at us and I think, am I a hypocrite? Because I'm not doubting this at all. But the fact is, there's a desire to do this organically and altruistically rather than, I would argue that Pilly at Fleetwood, okay, maybe he stuck with them, to be fair, but it's to publicise his business. Likewise, Forest Green is publicising green electricity, which I'm not saying that's a bad cause, but it's a company. It's one green electricity option that they are advertising. We're not doing that. It's more about people coming in to enjoy the ride, which is how football support should be. I guess I never thought that Blackburn bought the league as such, insofar as everyone buys the league. Jack Walker was a genuine fan who lived the dream by sticking money into the club. And I think thankfully we've got a more pure version of investments than than the ESL clubs, because let's be honest, who invest in Wrexham to make a profit? It's not really wise, is it?
Exactly. And It's for me. It was a complete mess, and I think it was the fact that they thought, oh, we are English football, and all the other teams, oh, forget about them. Forget about them. For me, for every United, there's a Newcastle. For every City, there's a Villa. For every Tottenham and Arsenal, there's a Leicester, there's a West Ham, there's Nottingham Forest. English football would have been fine without them anyway. There's a lot of clubs that are so enriched with history and so enriched with fans and culture. We don't need these clubs. We don't need them. It's nice to have them around, but we don't need them. So it was just all arrogance, and it was just a cheap attempt at a money grab. And I think it was an attempt at trying to maybe barter with UEFA a little bit to try and get them guaranteed to play in the Champions League. So they're trying to restructure it, aren't they, at the moment? I don't really understand it much. But it was just a complete mess, wasn't it? It just really was a mess.
Well, I mean, the strange thing about the timing is that, like you say, that they've always used it. They've used this for 20 years to pressure UEFA into more and more concessions. And at this time, they actually pressed the button, which seems a little peculiar in a way. Because it's strange to say, why did you actually do it now when UEFA's Reform Champions League has essentially given them exactly what they want, or nearly all that they want, with this the Swiss model? They don't seem like the sort of blokes, these club owners, who would turn down a Swiss model, do they? And there you go. But I mean, it does give them what they want. If you don't qualify for Europe, you can still have a place because you've got history. I mean, it's remarkable.
It's a joke.
And there is pleasingly talk now that because the UEFA were pushed into this horrible rip-up of the Champions League format by those big clubs, who then stabbed them in the back anyway, that they might roll back some of these reforms and not bring in some of these stupid ideas. And I hope not. I think the current format is as good as anything. But I'm going to ask you, right, if you're going on history, if Andrea Agnelli can say, why are Atlanta still in the Champions League and we're not? Because they've only had one good season. Well, that's your reason, mate. But if they can talk like that, and it's all about history and heritage, then I want to know why weren't Wrexham invited? Rob McElhenney said we turned down the invitation, but hang on, we're older than all those clubs.
Yeah,
all these Welsh cups that we've won.
Yeah,
I mean, where was the invite? What's going on,
exactly? And I was angry because in 5 years' time or 6 years' time we're going to be in the Champions League anyway.
There you go. Yeah.
So, and if we're not, I'll never go watch Wrexham again.
That sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I must admit, at the very start, when all with the apocalyptic and they're going to be kicked out, I was thinking we've got to make sure we finish in the top six because that's going to be us in the Football League next year if they get kicked out. Although there's been some quite interesting theorising about that, hasn't there? I don't know if you've seen it. The EFL, when there was when it was first announced and all the bodies were piling in, ripping into the ESL, the EFL didn't. They did it 24 hours later. And there's a suggestion, isn't there? Because the EFL were thinking, oh, can we have those six?
Yeah.
We'll have them for a season. Because there was talk, wasn't there, after the awful project level playing field, that if Liverpool Man United got kicked out of the result, the championship had said to them, we'll have you. We'll have you. It's all right.
Yeah.
So I don't think that top six dream of mine would have quite come to pass.
No, unfortunately not. But
or my dream of a Swiss model. I'm going to keep plugging that joke till it lands.
But so, in a nutshell, what's all your thoughts at the end? Now the dust has settled. Now the clubs have pulled out. Where does football go from here?
It will happen again. And, I want to steer this in a Wrexham direction. I like the idea of giant killing. I like the idea of teams being able to scale the leagues. And it will happen again. And so, it will unless we do something. Now, whether I'm not totally convinced. This idea that people are floating about a regulator, I think it's an idea. I don't think it's a guarantee against anything. I think that putting in legislation against non-official tournaments is going to be a very effective deterrent, and I think you could maybe tie it up like that. the things I was mentioning earlier, which like I said, now legislatively the government can do, and I feel like those are the sort of steps that need to be put in place. But I think there's got to be a whole Europe approach as well. I don't fully understand how you'd expect salary caps to work. I can see how they work in American sports because it's a closed environment, but I don't see how you can bring in a salary cap. How can you across all of world football?
No.
You're really going to be watching. I mean, I don't know. The example that comes to mind of me is, remember briefly the Russian team. Well, they wouldn't like being called Russian, to be fair. That Amzi Makalatla, who bought Samuel Eto'o. And
the Dagestani team, aren't they?
Yeah. And they did all right for a couple of years in Europe, didn't they? And they spent big money, warlords' money. Now, how do you regulate them? Do you know what I mean? If you regulate, say, the EU countries and Britain, and there's a salary cap, what's to stop a team coming from somewhere like, say, that, or Kazakhstan, which is oil rich, and then just blowing everyone out the water in that sense? So I don't think it's, you know, I've got to be honest, I've got a sort of philosophical issue there in that I don't like, I'm going to get involved here. Football's a working class game, so footballers get moaned at because they make money, because they're getting out of their station. Golfers don't get moaned at when they make millions upon millions.
F1.
Yeah, so I'm a little, I'm a bit uncomfortable about this whole, they're only interested in money, and which I think they've shown this week they're not. They should have salary caps. Why should they get so much money? Well, if they didn't get all that money, the owners would keep more, and I know who I'd rather have all that money. So I'm not comfortable with the salary cap thing. But
it's an easy way to have a go and exploit people who usually come from working class or impoverished backgrounds. Is let's look at the footballers. Look at him driving a Jaguar. No, he's a 19-year-old lad who's getting paid $3,000 a week. What do you expect him to be like?
Yeah.
You know, we don't teach these kids how to spend their money. They have everything done for them because they're just kids. You know, how the hell are they meant to grow up if they've just been thrown all this money at them? And they've only got a short shelf life as well, footballers. I think it's easy to blame the footballers themselves and, you know, compare them to nurses and compare them to doctors, which is a silly argument, isn't it? You see it all the time on social media. They're two completely different things. But tabloids love to point the finger at footballers, and it is a bit unjust.
Oh, totally. What about you? What do you reckon should come of this, if anything?
What should come of it? For me, at a local level, if you're from Wrexham or you're from Chester or you're from Merseyside and you're angry about what's happened, don't go buy a Liverpool top. Don't go buy a United top next year. Go down to watch Wrexham. Go down to watch Chester. Go down to watch Tranmere.
Go down to watch Chester, did you say?
No. If you're from these areas,
you're sick.
Go. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Do you?
If you're from Chester, come and watch Wrexham. Educate yourself. They soon will be. Go watch Kevin Druids. Go watch Carnarvon. You know, go watch Bangor. Instead of spilling your money all on Sky Sports subscription, get your money, get a cup of Bovril, and go watch Wrexham, the Cold Road Stand. Get yourself down. It's a great laugh. You'll enjoy it, and you feel a part of something, and the club makes you feel a part of something, and the hope kills you, but sometimes the highs are as high as you can possibly go, and the lows are as low as you possibly go. Go and support your local team. Don't put money into these clubs anymore because they don't need it and they don't care about you. That is brilliant. The hope kills you, but at least you've got hope when there is promotion and relegation.
Yes.
At least it's there. And sometimes cool stuff does happen.
Yes, it does.
I feel gutted because that rant was the perfect way to end this part of the show. But I would like to mention one other little thing, or not little thing at all, which has sort of gone under the radar, and it makes me feel really angry, which is that comment they made at the end of their announcements that, we'll have a Women's Champions League when we can get around to it as well, a Women's Super League. Now, I feel when you look at the situation we're in, where our women's team is being expanded, and it's a continuation of what the trust began, I And again, it's organic, and I think that's healthy, and it's good, and money will be put in to see how far it can go, and it's wonderful. And I'd love to. I like the thought that in the future, Wrexham's a multi-football team, if you like, not a multi-sport, multi-football one, where the men's and the women's teams are getting equal coverage, equal respect. I was really angered at the ludicrous notion that they were going to start a women's Superleague up when they felt like it. I thought that was the most amazing misogynistic assumption. I mean, they didn't ask anybody in women's football about it.
I think they just said it out there just to blurt it out to make themselves sound good. I was listening to this topic on the price of football this morning. They just sort of, and the way they come out of it, they just literally blurred out, that'll keep all the woke people happy, won't it? We'll just say, we'll make a women's Super League too. And
that's exactly it. Yeah. It's been the most ramshackle, embarrassing mess. And it's been so sort of, because we're wretched and entitled, we'll just say we're doing something and then we'll work it all out later. They didn't have broadcast deals. The point where I really knew this wasn't going to happen is when, BT and Sky read the situation and said, we won't cover it. But then when Amazon Prime said that, I thought, hello, we're into something here, because I'd have thought these over-the-top American broadcasters wouldn't care a damn about dissatisfaction. We're still going to buy presents and for our auntie on Amazon, you know what I mean? But they said they weren't going to touch it with a barge pole. That was the point where I thought, you're in trouble here. But the arrogance and audacity to say, and let's be honest, Leon are the dominant women's team anyway, so were you going to have them in, were you?
Yeah.
Who spoke to anyone in the women's game? Nobody did. I just think that was so appallingly arrogant, and we're just rich and we just get what we want, so this is just what's going to happen. Oh, it was horrible. Our Wrexham team, Wrexham women's team are going to win the Champions League the proper way by qualifying through the Welsh League and destroying everybody.
That sounds good to me. European nights back at the racecourse.
Oh my god, yeah! Oh my gosh, yeah! Oh, brilliant! I love that. That's an optimistic note to finish that conversation, I think, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
We can go on now to more exciting, fun stuff. Oh, what was that? Another 4-0 away win? We'll talk about it after this, I reckon.
I'm Kerry Evans, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio Show.
Apart from all that ESL stuff, there's a bit of good football going on with Wrexham at the moment, isn't there? Not bad at Woking.
Not bad at all. 2 4-0s on the bounce.
Yeah.
Can't complain about that at all, can you?
Fantastic. It sets us up with a nice sort of run-in where Notts County and Chesterfield are the only promotion contenders, I guess, really we're playing against now. And 5 of our 8 games are at home. So although we've played a couple of games more than the teams below us. Although, having said that, here's something I just noticed before we went on. There's 3 teams behind us, 1 point behind. But we've got better goal difference than all of them. A week ago, we had the worst goal difference out of those 4 teams. But funnily enough, scoring 8 goals, not letting any in, has helped us in this regard. So.
And it's just been... We haven't talked. We both didn't get to talk about the Halifax game together.
Yeah,
that was covered on last week's show. But 2 just excellent performances, and what I liked about it is we were 2-0 up all the way up to 90 minutes against Woking, and we still ended up scoring 2 more goals. And there were some really noticeable performances, and we're starting to look really positive now. And I'm really happy with us again, especially after that rough period that we had previously.
Mm. I've got to say, I've written about this in a leader this week, actually. It's a dramatic turnaround from where we were a couple of weeks ago. And fair play to Keats. Because when Brian Hughes, I'm not actually going to knock Brian Hughes over this, to be fair, because I think Brian Flynn influenced this quite a lot. But when Brian Hughes had to bring in some more creative players at this point of the season, and then the rules weren't quite so strict, so he did have scope to bring in loan players. He brought in Anthony Spyro, who just wasn't up to it. Well, say about all 3 of them. Jermaine McGlashan, who was a very lightweight winger, and Kemi Augustian, who could have been a nice signing, but really wasn't. And they all failed dismally. Whereas Keats, at this point in the season, again, when there's not much around, and with more restrictions on him, well, if he'd only brought in Omatayo, he'd have done well, because Omatayo's breathed life into us up front. I think Sangs looked with very little pitch time, has shown he's got something about him. I quite like looking at him. And Marsh Brown maybe is the one who's shown the least, but he's got actual pedigree. If we can get him up to speed, he could be a proper signing for the future. So, to be fair to Keats, he's done well to rejuvenate, but Omatayo in particular, he's quite good.
Yeah, he's a physical beast, isn't he, to be fair? And I think he's exactly what we need. I'm not saying he's Kwame Thomas. He's a lot more, as we were both speaking earlier today in work, we were both saying he's a lot more basic, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I think he's exactly what we needed. Dior Angus needs that big, heavy target man to do all the dirty work for him, doesn't he? And he's shown that, and he was, against Woking, I thought he was absolutely excellent.
Yeah, he is. I don't want to sound insulting to him, but basic is the word I would use to describe him as well. He does those basic target man things well, but that's good. Like you said, Angus, I think, to be fair to him, in those 3 defeats, maybe not so much the first one, but the other ones afterwards, I think did a good, brave job fighting away on his own up front, to be fair to him. But having said that, when he's got a target man alongside him, that's really what suits him. And Omatayo, it looks to me like that's a player that Angus can do business with, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks an absolute beast as well in a unit, doesn't he? Which he's winning most of the headers as well against defenders, and he's got an NNA pedigree as well. So probably the defenders are a bit scared of him. But I thought he was excellent. It was really nice to see him get a goal as well, because I think he really, really earned it. Yeah,
and he finished it well as well, didn't he? When he's through the middle, you're thinking, keep your cool, son. He did all right, didn't he? Think the keeper. It was good.
Yeah, really, really nice. And was it Sang who played that through ball too, which was so. As you said, he is also showing promise as well. So I thought it was an excellent game. And I think even though we won 4-0, I think Woking played okay too, and they gave us a bit of a game at parts. But even though I think we could have even scored more, so very happy.
I thought we kept them comfortably at arm's length, really. I know they had a couple of shots from the edge of the area in the second half that could have gone in, but I didn't really feel threatened by them.
No,
I quite like Woking as a club. I enjoy going there. I'm not sure why, but I enjoy going there. And they've had problems, and they're already looking at next season. Really, they know they can't get relegated, and they're building already for next year, I think. And they were the classic, I thought, slightly dysfunctional team, and they got stuck in and they did what they could. Yeah, but we were a level above them, and it's nice to be able to say that. I mean, we don't tend to win at Woking, so it's nice to see us doing that, and the confidence must be sky high now. I liked it when they're all in the centre circle together at the end. You just think, something's building here. It's looking nice. I like it. And
we could have just sat down and let the season fade away after those last 3 results. Before Halifax, of course, we could have just sat down and ended our season in mediocre, mid-table mediocrity, couldn't we? We could have quite easily done that, and they've shown a lot of fight and guts, and I think that's what I think that's all you need to do for Wrexham fans. I don't think you need to show absolute class. I just think you need to show a bit of fight and a bit of passion, and I think the fans will endear themselves to you, won't they? Yeah.
And speaking of fight and passion, we've got these 2 excellent results without the bloke over your right shoulder, Jay Harris, who for me, in that run of bad matches, over the run of those defeats, I thought was our best player. I had him as man of the match in the 2 home defeats. And with him suspended for 2 matches, we performed like that. And that gives us a nice problem, doesn't it, in terms of what we do in the midfield? Because, Jordan Davis is absolutely on fire. You can't not use him in the role he's in at the moment. And I think Rutherford deserves a hell of a lot of credit. I think he's brought dynamism into that part of the pitch, which he didn't have previously.
He doesn't stop, does he? He really doesn't stop. he's excellent. He's been an excellent addition, and even though I'm not saying he's an addition, but I'm saying as in he's not really played constant football this season.
No.
And if I cast my mind back to the Halifax game, I was anxious when I seen him on the starting lineup. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I'm saying he's not played regular football, so I was a bit confused to why he was playing him, but he's proved me wrong. And another pair that have proved me wrong are Kelleher and Pearson playing together.
Yeah.
That's really surprised me.
I mean, I'm interested to see how this goes forwards. I mean, when he's fit, Vassell surely is in the first team. And then there's that reshuffle that's required. So how are they going to play this? And it must be pointed out that after his comeback from injury, when he gave a really good performance, Pearson himself said you couldn't put us in the same team. So if you think about the pattern of these two games, we've got a lead, well, very early at Halifax, fairly early at Woking, and we've been able to defend fairly deep when we've had to defend because we've got a lead to defend. And that suits those two down to the ground.
Yeah.
Will there be an issue if we're chasing the game and having to push up a bit higher? Would be my question. Or say Chesterfield on Saturday, if they're a challenging side who are good enough to take the game to us and we have to try to take the game back to them, are we going to be leaving spaces behind? That's just a question in my head as to, will they be able to perform in the same way when we're not dominating? But then, having said that, Halifax are a good size.
Yeah.
Well, so like I say, the way the game went fed into their favour, perhaps.
And I think a lot of conference teams don't play the aerial ball a lot, don't they? And I wouldn't want to attack Wrexham's defence with Kelleher and Pearson in the air because they're both units, aren't they? To be fair, and they're both fantastic in the air. But I would tend to agree against a more energetic strike force. I tend to think our best centre back trio is French, Vassell, and Kelleher.
Yeah, I would go along with that. But having said that, I think Pearson's tremendous.
I'm not.
Oh no, I know. But I love Carrington. I think we've got nice options there, and Carrington's been terrific. He's such a good pro, but when he first played at centre back years ago, you'd think this is a stretch. It doesn't feel like a stretch now, to be honest. He's in this system, he suits it beautifully. I just wonder, like I said, I think that in a game where we're having to attack, I mean, Luke Young, in essence, he's not a holding midfielder, but he's maybe the one who's slightly deeper and trying to cover when we lose the ball.
Yeah.
We don't want our defence to drop too deep, because then he will have to drop deep and become a defensive midfielder to cover that, try and cover the gap between the lines.
Yeah.
And I don't want that, because then you're not using Luke Young's qualities. You can use Jay Harris there, I think, because Harris has got good range of long passing, and so he can still start things off from there. But I wouldn't want to use Luke Young there, because I think Young's ability to cover ground is a big part of what we've got. And with him, Davis and Rutherford in the middle of midfield, you've got three players who can cover the ground. I mean, I've said this to you before. Only under Sam Ricketts has Rutherford really played as a central midfielder until now. And I sort of think maybe that's his best position. There's less pressure on him to score goals because he doesn't score many. And, I mean, his endless energy is a hell of a value for a player in the central midfield, because you want someone getting box to box all the time. Well, he'll do it all week.
Yeah, of course.
He presses well.
Two players I think need to mention as well for their performances. Jamie Record and Reece Johnson. I thought they had excellent games on Saturday.
Yeah. The Record, I thought in particular, was really.
Yeah.
Well, Reece Johnson scored the goal as well, didn't he? Record was. After an hour, I was thinking this is the best player on the pitch, and then I think maybe some other people overtook him. Not so much because he didn't dip, but just other people stepped up more. But I'm just delighted Record's now the player I thought to be signed, which I was sort of satisfied with him at the start of the season, but I wouldn't go further than that. Whereas now, he's having a real impact on games since we entered the back. And then Hall Johnson is Hall Johnson.
Yeah.
Bomb up and down all long as he wants, won't he?
think with record, I think when he plays bad, he looks a lot worse, doesn't he? You think he really is bad because against the 3 game stint where we didn't win, the balls weren't right, were they? The crosses weren't right. And I think maybe we benefit from having a big target man in Mateo back in the team really suits record because he can whip the balls in knowing there's going to be a big target there, you know what I mean? So I think that's helped a lot. But yeah, what a fantastic bounce back. 2 4-0s. Is there ever been another time there's been 2 4-0s on the bounce?
Oh, I'll find it. All right, I'll look it up. Bear with me, everyone. Yes. Where are we? Oh, you had to ask. You had to ask me this. Where's my spreadsheet? Won by 4 goals away. Right. Now then, in terms of winning, like just in general, there's been plenty of times when we've won 4 by 4 or more. Home and then away or whatever, or 2 home games. It's only the 10th time in our history that we have won. I beg your pardon, the 9th time in our history that we have won back-to-back away games and scored 4 goals in each.
Wow.
That's quite incredible. It'll get more incredible, actually, because of those 9 times, right, the first one, get this. The first one's December 1882 in the Welsh Cup.
Right.
And in November 1883 in the Welsh Cup, because that's the very start of the Welsh Cup. It's the very start of competitive football on earth, Mr. Agnelli. And they are back-to-back away games, which are 11 months apart, because they were the only games we were playing, apart from that and the FA Cup. The only competitions before we went into league competition. So we beat Coed Porth 4-2 away. Long journey, that. And then 11 months later, our biggest ever away win. We went to one of our historical legacy rivals, Corwen, and we won 12-0.
Wow.
Now, I would argue, right, firstly, some people ignore these sort of records because they look at when we joined the Football League as the start of meaningful football. That's nonsense. You can't say, look, we're the 3rd oldest club in the world and ignore everything we did in the first 60 years of our existence. But having said that example and the next 3, how legitimate are these to compare? The next one is in the Welsh League, which is basically a North Walian league. We beat Brumbo Institute 5-1 and then Rhostyllen Victoria 6-1. I mean, is that the same? No. Maybe the next one, the Combination League, was, a pretty strong Northwestern and Welsh league. We beat Rill 6-1. This is still in the 19th century. And then Aberystwyth 8-2. So, fair enough. And then in 1903, Chester 4-0 away. Woo! And then we actually didn't win the next one, Rill 4-4. So there's 4 examples there. You could argue that they're not as competitive. Then
football's a different game then. Yeah.
But having said, they are club records, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to sort of the rarity of us doing this in what we might call modern football, it's incredibly rare. We beat Lunch in October 1936 in the 3rd Division North. We beat Rochdale 6-0 away. And then we beat York 4-3 away a fortnight later. In 1952, we won 7-2 in the Welsh Cup at Colwyn Bay. And then we went to Rochdale a fortnight later and won 5-1. And then the other 3 examples were in the National League. So we only actually did it twice in the years we were in the Football League, which shows how rare it is. Both of them were a fortnight apart rather than what we did, for 4 days apart. And one of those was a Welsh Cup game first, which maybe you shouldn't count. And then the other 3 are National League. 2012, Ebbsfleet away 5-0, and then Darlington away 4-2. And then 2012 again, the next season though, we beat Southport 4-1, then Braintree 5-1, and then what we did last week. So it is actually, to win by 4 goals in an away game back to back,
it's really impressive.
To do it like that 4 days apart, it is the first time we've ever done it. And if you say that the first 4 examples maybe at a lower level of football, And maybe the Welsh Cup one's a bit twisted as well. We've
Yeah.
essentially only done it 4 times in the league ever. That's quite something.
It's quite something. And Halifax are no mugs too. To do it against them was incredibly impressive, especially because I was really anxious going into that game. So yeah, what a great way to get our season back on track.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so, we just got to try now. Like I said, on paper, our run-in's not bad. We've got to keep our heads up and take advantage of it.
100%. We need to keep marching on now. And we got a huge game on Chesterfield on Saturday. Let's see if we can do another 4-0.
That's right. And of course, everyone remember, when you finish listening to this, you are going to move on to our preview podcast, aren't you? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. That's right. Very good. After this, we'll talk about a subject that we've been raising for weeks, that cursed subject. We're finally going to do it. Prepare yourselves for the bomb blast, which might stop us. It's going to be players that Wrexham should have held on to, but chose not to.
I'm John Ponticelli, and you're listening to the Dragonheart Radio Show.
Right, now then, let's test the memory banks. We've got that question that we've been asking. Which players did Wrexham release that we shouldn't have? Shall we have a look at some responses? We had some good responses on Twitter. Maybe have a look at those first and
go for it.
See what people came up with. All right, apologies if I miss anyone out. I hope not, but let's have a little look. Well, firstly, Rich Fay of course, one of the rival podcasts on. Oh God, I was going to say their name and I got mixed up. Rob Ryan Red, is it?
That's it.
Hey, cool. Well done, chaps. And of course,
it's cracking podcast too. Everyone should listen.
Yes, absolutely. And Rich is a sound lad. Was in the media team and a very good judge. Now he said, although he's right with at least 2 of them. Can't remember the circumstances regarding them all, but at least 3. Caden Jackson, John Nolan, Luke Waterfall, and Kyle Storer spring to mind in recent years. Jackson is a strange one because we couldn't hold on to him, although, the way Gary Mills treated him. He sits into the category in a very small category of players we brought in but then couldn't be bothered to use, tried to get rid of, failed to, ended up having to play him and then found he was actually better than all the other strikers we had. And then his contract ran out and the Football League team took him.
Gary Mills.
Well done, Gary. Waterfall, I can't remember with Waterfall whether he had a lot of team lined up or not. I'm sure he was a good centre-back. Storer and Nolan, absolutely, 100% fit the category. And a crazy John Nolan, who we have on loan, who does well, Gary Mills gets rid of, and so he just goes to Grimsby and helps him get promoted and then spends the rest of his career in the Football League. Brilliant. Good job we missed out on him. And Storer, who's been consistently strong, he went to Cheltenham then and got promoted. I was a good player, Storer. Yeah, exactly. Andy Pearce, recent times. We didn't necessarily release him, but more didn't offer him anything. But I'd say John Nolan, again, when his loan spell came to an end, and we didn't keep him to the end of the season and beyond, 100%. Kyle Storer, again, similar. And we should have kept hold of Luke Waterfall. Yeah. Gareth Williams, this is someone got lined up to be in a show soon. Dan Holman, Gareth Williams says, worth a mention. Definitely a striker who, we brought in and then just didn't use. Absolutely bizarre. Now, here's one. Deja Sonnen. I like that name, I think, unless it means something I don't realise. Says, quite rightly, Manny Smith, but we rectified it. I mean, when Gary Mills got rid of Manny Smith, what the hell?
Yeah.
And Keats came and he got him straight back, didn't he? I mean, honestly, Che, letting Manny Smith go.
Ridiculous. Who does that?
Astonishing. I mean, I must say, his season under Smith, he didn't have the happiest of seasons. He was still good, but under Mills.
Yeah.
Mills was playing him at right back.
Yeah, why would you play him at right back?
Yeah.
He did some strange things, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
We're not his biggest fan on the podcast.
That is true. He played three at the back and put him in as a right-sided centre-back, and it didn't quite suit him. I think Manny was always suited to the bread and butter flat-back four, defend the box, and he was brilliant at it. Never understood that. I have to dig it out. I wrote a thing on the blog a while ago, when he was still playing for us, pointing out his statistics in terms of results and goals conceded per minute by the team when he was playing centre-back compared to playing as a right-sided centre-back in a three, or when he's playing at right-back, and it was really striking, the difference. I'll try and dig that up perhaps in a moment. He also mentions, it's an interesting left field one, this, but I like it. A short spell, but David Raven. I liked and thought he could do a job the following season. He was quite a flexible defender, and he could play full-back or centre-back. And yeah, he was a decent player, Raven, I thought. And then the comedy answer, Freddie Hines, the man we bought, he was supposed to be a legend and never actually set foot on the pitch. Beautiful, beautiful suggestion. Deja Sonnen also says, I think this may be where you step in here, Jay. Dom Vos, he says, I'd say Dom Vos too. I know he got a move to the Football League, but I think he said he didn't actually want to go and it was Mills's doing. That's my understanding as well.
Yeah.
Don would clear that up. Well, I think he was on the Fearless in Devotion.
Yeah, fantastic interview.
I must say.
Yeah, it's a really good interview. And from what he said on that interview, he really didn't want to go. He didn't even want to go to Scunthorpe. It was Scunthorpe he did go to, wasn't it, right after us?
Yeah.
And I just thought what an incredible talent he was. And, he wasn't perfect all the time, but I think we could have kept him for the rest of the season. I think if with his stats and his goals to game ratio and his assists, I think we may have crept into the playoffs that season, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is, well, if you think he's a luxury player, then don't buy him.
Yeah.
To be perfectly frank, if you, because he's clearly a luxury player, he wouldn't have hidden it in his previous career. When he's playing at Braintree, you don't think, oh, look at him, he's rolling his sleeves up. If you don't want that player, don't buy him. And he was producing anyway. Luxury players often look flashy and don't produce. He had double figures for goals and assists by January. That's fine by me. Build your team around him.
Yeah, and scored probably one of the best goals I've ever seen at the racecourse.
Oh, yeah.
Got another Gary Mills one again.
Well, if I can throw back to Gary Mills, not that this is to punch Gary Mills while he's down for an hour. Or if you're interested in that, we will do it. Here are Manny Smith's rep figures under Gary Mills for that season. Okay, so when he was playing in a back four, we let a goal in every 86 minutes. So essentially 1 goal a game. When he played in a back three, we let in a goal every hour. So 26 minutes more regularly we conceded. When he played at right back, pretty much the same, 63 minutes. So when you put him at the back in a back four, we didn't let go. Well, we let in 1 goal a game and a goal every hour if he was playing in a different position. So don't put him in a back four, in a back three or right back. Seems a pretty obvious conclusion to draw from some very basic stats, but they don't lie.
Hey ho.
Gay Waterhouse says Jordan White, which I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know about Jordan White, but then in some ways he's very similar to Gold Amateo, so I suppose it's similar qualities. To be fair, Cy Scotty said Emad. Emad Buanan. Don't get me started on them. Loved him, but I don't know if I loved him for his football. For a character, we could do an hour long on Emad. Wonderful. I think it's off the pitch things that meant he had to go. I know that's something that we were saying actually before, weren't we, when we were preparing about Dom Vos? As far as we're aware, there was no real suggestion he was a troublemaker. He's quite quiet sort of character, but I mean, if you have an issue, then all right. But Vos didn't have that, I don't think.
It was all a bit odd, wasn't it? I remember the whole vibes around the club at the time. It was all a bit weird. It's like, why is he going?
Yeah. Craig Colville, the Welsh photo guy. He says, can I have two? Of course. Jordan Evans and Leo Smith. That's interesting, isn't it? When they were played, they both looked like top quality homegrown talent, but not given a spot due to dubious loan signings. I would say those are, I think, two players I'm sorry to have seen gone. I think the sad thing is that, if I take Leo Smith first, I know for a fact that when he was breaking through at first into the team, that Dean Keats really rated him. And I think the problem for Leo is that Dean Keats left. And subsequent managers, I'm confident in my information. Dean Keats thought Leo Smith was going to grow into something. But the subsequent managers didn't rate him as much. And I think he went backwards, which is a shame. And I think if we were a team with a bigger budget, you could maybe... Well, I mean, this happened to Sean Pedgick. Sean Pedgick made his debut when he was sort of 17, then got shin splints. His form collapsed because of it. And luckily then we were spending quite a lot of money, and so that we were just patient with him. And then he came back when he was about 19, didn't play a game for 2 years. But when he came back, he looked good. We weren't in a position to be taking those sort of gambles with Leo Smith, I think, to be honest. And I feel sad that he went. Jordan Evans, I don't think Craig fits into the pattern, because Keats wanted to keep him and he wanted to play him at the point of a diamond. And I mean, look, I wasn't in the middle of this negotiation. And to be fair, we're all entitled to make our own life choices. But I got the impression that Jordan Evans maybe was badly advised. I think I may be wrong, but the impression I was given was that his agent felt he could get a move back up to the Football League, and he didn't. And he's now a Welsh League player. And I think he would have been better off sticking with us, because Keats rated him, and Keats wanted to build the attacking part of the team around him. So I may be wrong on that, but that's the story I was told. Certainly, I know that Keats wanted to keep him, but bad advice, I think, is what led to him leaving. David Tomlinson, Mark Duffy, one of the men that Brian Little brought in and chucked out very swiftly. I was always curious about him. Good target man. And Jim McNulty, I thought it was a weird one. A young Wrexham lad who comes in, played, was it one game? Never really looked like he was going to get picked. And then went off and had a really good career with Stockport.
Yeah.
No one saw that coming, really.
Yeah.
Alex Reed, Andy Pierce says, that's cruel.
Yeah, especially after a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. Mark Barnes, here's one to chew over. Darren Ferguson. We wouldn't be in National League if we'd kept him over Carey. Because essentially that was what that management call was, wasn't it? One of them is going to be manager.
That's a tough one, that one, though, isn't it? Because he still might have gone down with Darren Ferguson as well.
Yeah.
The club was in a mess, wasn't it? It was an absolute shambles. So I don't know. I'm a little bit I think that one's just a little bit unfair.
I would ask, would Ferguson have still played if he became manager? I think he might not. Maybe we would have been good to have him. Maybe that would have helped us. I mean, the thing that makes it all feel a bit strange, that one, is that by all accounts, Brian Carey wasn't actually very keen to become manager. And the board sort of decided they wanted him and just told him, well, it's going to be you. But Ferguson certainly seems to have left because he was overlooked. I don't know. It's
a strange one, isn't it?
That's one of the classic what ifs, isn't it? Who knows?
Yeah.
Tom says, surely it's got to be Manny Smith again when he got released by Mills. 1,000,000% agree. Nick Welsh. He says, going back a bit, that is an interesting one. Is an era of rejected players. Sean Wally always looked dangerous for us, and Saunders decided to loan him out and let him go. Same story with Tremarco. Now, I think, frankly, Saunders did this a lot. Saunders came in, clearly wanted to do his own thing, and essentially got rid of about 10, 15 players, or if he couldn't get rid of them, just froze them out by making them train with the reserves or on their own. Tremarco was a really good left back, and I would have kept him. Didn't understand why he didn't fancy him. I thought he was a proper combative scrapper. And the same about Who was he says? Oh, Sean Wally. Sean Wally scored goals, and he left us. And he's played quite a bit in the Football League. He's a good, sharp striker. He did all right for us. A few players in that team. Tom Kearney, the captain, was a decent midfielder. A few he got rid of there. Nat Brown was, I'm not saying they were God's gift, but
there was something.
If you're going to replace someone, you got to bring in someone better.
Yeah, of course.
And he didn't, to be honest.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Fat Boer saying Nolan in midfield. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In recent years. Now, Rhys Williams, one that I'm thinking about. Wes York, when he got released by Gary Mills, wrong decision in my opinion. Class player, very quick, and added goals to the team. I think if Keats had re-signed him like he re-signed Manny Smith, we'd have got into the playoffs at the very least that season. Yeah, that's again, who do you replace a player with? If you get rid of someone and bring in someone better, fair enough. But we got rid of Wes York and brought in Callum Powell. That didn't work. That wasn't wise.
No.
I liked York, fast and direct, and just cause problems. You play up front as well. A Selzig Envauer. Oh, that's said massive sausages, isn't it? I remember that. Now, again, okay, I'll read this through first. John Walters is surely the correct answer to this. Excuse me if I'm wrong about the nature of his departure, but he was living through terrible personal circumstances when he was with us. Would love to have seen him at his best play for us. An impressive human being, in my opinion. I completely agree with that. Oh, another person as well. The Aston Williams. John Walters is the obvious one. Went on to have a great career. Although he left us as he had family issues at the time, if I remember rightly. Yeah, I think we would have held on to him if we could.
I think he wanted to go to Chester, though, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think that now stuff has come out to maybe explain reasons why he went, but at the time, I think Dennis Smith was quite upset at the way he left us. So it wasn't us. I think we would have kept hold of him. I thought he was good. A lot of people have said, "Oh, who would have thought that bloke would have got into the Premier League?" Well, I'm not saying I thought he'd get into the Premier League, but I did think he was a really good striker. I must say, I really,
a lot of people didn't like him at the time, did they?
No,
there was a lot of complaints about him. Yeah,
I never understood that.
Yeah, he was very good. Him and Lee McEvely linked up quite well as well, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think he's. Yeah,
McEvely did the chewing.
And the ball boy held a burger by the goal for Lee McEvely.
Nice. We've got a couple here now coming up. I are also ones in my mind. Luke Redman says Connor Jennings, if he was released, he wasn't actually, so maybe we shouldn't say him. Or Adriano Moke. I loved Adriano Moke.
Yeah. He was quite skillful, wasn't he? I liked Moke. Yeah, he was good.
And he was a good winger. And then Mills brought him in and played him as a centre mid. And you think, really?
Yeah, that was bizarre, wasn't it?
But it sort of worked, I thought. I liked it. And I never understood. He'd never finished 90 minutes. And I thought, what's going on here? Usually, you might sub your strikers. You don't sub your centre mids very often. But he constantly never got 90 minutes. And you think, what's happening? But Mills took him to York after, so he must have liked him. And I thought he was a good, energetic, sort of neat, skillful player. He would do the hard work. He could move the ball around as well. I really like him, okay? But again,
very good player.
You go through that team, man by man, to not get in the top 5 at least. It's not good management.
It's
not kick
Like, that's no more Gary Mills hate now.
Will I get away with having a title of this as kick Gary Mills hour? No. Well, here's another interesting one then, who Gary Mills chose not to take. This coming in from before Mills was Sam Finley. Now, there's a player who did a decent job for us in a very short amount of time, and then we let go, and he's done very, very well for himself. And with Filed, they called him like the Welsh League Gascoigne, and he looked brilliant against us. And you just think, Sam Finley, definitely a player we missed out on. Yeah. Joe Liarde says Louis Moult. It's a complicated one, that I think. He said he was under contract for next season, but sold to Motherwell. It would have been a very different first season under Mills if he'd stayed. I don't know if you count. I mean, God, I'd love to have him at Louis Moultier, but
no, I don't think he'd count. He was offered to play at a higher level, and you can't really say no to a player who wants to do that, can you?
And we don't tend to either. As long as the deal's reasonable. And Steve Jones, again, not a very interesting talking point. This, but maybe not quite what we're looking at. Brad Walker. I know it was his own doing, but there shouldn't have been the doubt in his mind to make him want to leave. We never replaced him. Well, that's very true. Walker gave real steel in midfield. I think his injury, well, if he hadn't got injured, we might have gone up that season, sadly. But I don't know if we chose not to keep him. I think that might be, I don't know. But yeah, I wish he was playing for us. Don't get me wrong, he's not playing that often for Shrewsbury. Come on, son. Come away from the dark side. But you got your names there? Some suggestions?
Yes. One that's not been mentioned that I've been quite surprised about is Chris Maxwell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I know it was a tough one because I think arguably we had two of the best keepers in the league at the time, didn't we? With Jocelyn Miebe and Chris Maxwell. I don't really know what's gone on behind the scenes there. I don't really want to comment on it, but I thought it was an awful shame for us to let him go.
100%. And the fact that he came back, by that point, we weren't going to be able to keep him then, frankly. But, you know, he came back and did a brilliant job for us again. I think Maxwell's comfortably, well, no, maybe I shouldn't say comfortably, but I think Maxwell's the best keeper we've had in the National League. We've had some good ones, to be fair. But that was a real shame that.
I think he did everything right, didn't he? He did the basics right. And I think, you know, Jocelyn Miebe would do a lot of crazy world-class saves, but then, I don't know, miss kick it or what happened at Mansfield when the ball bounced over him and what have you, you know. But yeah, it was a terrible shame to get rid of Chris Maxwell. And look what he's done in his career since, and he's even made it into the Welsh squad and probably may get into the Welsh squad for the Euros. Who knows? And my other one, and I don't know what you seem to think about this, is Neil Roberts. We released him to go to Real when we went down, didn't we? And I thought that was a pretty bad decision because he was a good leader, an all-round class player, and I think he might have been a good tool to use in the conference for that season.
I so strongly agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I remember very clearly the circumstances around that. That season when it was obvious we were going down. I mean, we were poor, and he was just head and shoulders above the rest of the team. He was brilliant. Yeah. And I remember just thinking, oh, you know what? There's no way he'll stay. There's no way he'll hang around. I mean, why on earth would he? He's clearly should be playing at a higher level in League Two, so he's not going to drop down to the National League. And I remember it's about like sort of 6 weeks before the end of the season, and it was all feeling a bit inevitable. And I remember doing an interview with him in the tunnel, and he said, if we go down, I'm not going anywhere because I want Wrexham to come straight back up. And I remember just walking away feeling the most positive I'd felt for weeks, thinking, all right, I know we're going down, but he's going to be sticking with us. And that gives us a player to build around. And then Brian Little got rid of him. And the first time that Wrexham had released a player of the season. So, which I think tells you something in our history. And he got rid of a lot of players who probably would have done a job, you know, at that level. Yeah. And kept hold of some like Sam Easton, who I think were never really going to do much of a job at that level. It was a odd situation, that.
And for him to go to Real as well, you know, it's not like he was staying in the Football League. We could have kept him for that.
Money, didn't they?
Yeah, they did have a good chunk of money. So I'm sure they signed, is it Josh Johnson after it?
And Danny Williams.
Yeah, and Danny Williams. I think we should have kept all of Danny Williams as well, to be quite frank.
Well, I mean, I was about to say that the issue maybe with Danny was he had a bad back. He only started 11 league games that season. But having said that, I mean, we were in a situation there where we were bringing players in hand over fist all the time. So that idea I said about Leo Smith of having a tight budget didn't exist. So could we have kept Danny Williams around, hoping his back got a bit better, but also maybe thinking he's a good influence around the club?
Yeah,
he
was
would have been
loved by the
inclined to
fans.
Yeah.
So as we said, the club was in a really bizarre state at that point, wasn't it? It was a really turning point in our history. So, all right then, who's yours then?
The ones you just said, really?
Or all of them?
I think I'm struggling to think of extra names.
Shall I give you one that's a bit of a talk of debate as well?
Go on then. Yeah.
All right, Lee Trundle.
Oh, well, he doesn't fit into the category, does he?
Do you not think?
He definitely left rather than us releasing him. Now, okay. Obviously, he gave his interview on Fears and Devotion, and he said about how he got quite derisory pay offer after us sort of failing to really make him offers when he went back to them. And I think that was perfectly reasonable what he was saying. I think there are other sides to that story as well. And certainly Dennis Smith felt very upset that he hadn't got back to him. I think he felt the club had supported him very well when he had problems off the pitch.
Yeah.
And that was deeply unpleasant for Trundle, and the club stuck by him. And I think that Smith felt that maybe he should have therefore kept in touch with the club just to inform us of his decisions, because he was entitled to leave. I think he burnt his bridges a bit with Wrexham by declaring he wasn't going to hang around, sort of thing.
Such a shame, though, wasn't it? It was such a shame.
Yeah,
because
we would have definitely kept him if we could.
Yeah,
no question. Yeah.
Probably the most talented, football I've seen technically at the racecourse. One of them, anyway. He was excellent. So yeah, I thought that maybe would have been a bit of a controversial one. So I wanted to throw that one at you.
I thought you were going to throw Gavin Ward at me. You love Gavin Ward, don't you?
Oh yeah, Gavin Ward, my favourite cult keeper of all time.
he was a sound enough goalie, wasn't he? I did like him. Yeah,
and he hated Chester too.
Well, there you go. Well, I certainly remember that performance he put in at Chester when we drew 0-0. I mean, no, we won, didn't we? We won the game.
Michael Proctor scored, and
and Hall.
Yeah. Because Chester were all over us, and we caught him on the bounce, didn't we?
He was just a genius, wasn't he? He's just fantastic.
Yeah. Do you remember Chester? I know it's a bit off topic now. Do you remember Chester scoring a disallowed goal, and the player quite clearly put the ball from a corner quite clearly outside of the triangle? Do you remember that?
I don't actually.
Oh, am I making up? I'm sure that happened, because I remember going wild and this Chester player was taking corners. It was way not in the box, in the triangle of the corner. Anyway, I was just going off topic. That was a great away day in a rubbish season.
Yeah, absolutely. How about Joe Clark?
Yes.
Should we have kept Joe Clark?
Yeah, for what? Simply because he played in all of our two FA trophies and a playoff final. And he was in two excellent sides, and he was a great player. Yeah, I think we should have kept him.
We let him go 6 years ago. He's still going now, as we saw, because he was a Leamington team that beat us. Yeah. I'm not saying he would have kept going at the same level, but, he did a good job box to box. He scored a fair amount of goals. And quite frankly, again, there have been a few fractures, key points on there with Wrexham, where we've moved from one manager to another, and they've got rid of a lot of players. And that was where Mills got rid of a lot of players, and Clark was one of them. But I think that he had something. I would have carried on with him. I don't think,
100%.
Well, we would have had a good side if we kept that 3,000 players that we were just talking about, wouldn't we?
We could probably build a team from all those players we were talking about. So
we could build a European Superleague style mega squad.
Yes, that sounds amazing to me.
We'll have to do that, won't we? I think we'll start our own Super League, the Gwenvro Super League, featuring players.
Yeah. Oh, sounds amazing to me. Sponsored by Dragonheart, of course.
No, because then it'll cost us money to do it. The idea of a Super League is to make money, you fool.
Well, no, we both got mobile phones, so we'll just get, I don't know, some local business to sponsor us, and they can chuck us 20 quid.
Eddie's Chippy. Would be good, wouldn't it? The Eddie's Chippy Gwenville Super League. I'm loving this idea now. Well, that'll get Lee McEverly in, definitely.
Coming to some streaming platform near you.
Exactly. Absolutely right, yeah. We better finish this so I can get onto Amazon.
Yes.
It's a Super League you can get behind. Brilliant. Well, thank you, Chay, as always. Always a pleasure to do business with you. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to do Dragonheart again, mate. I really enjoyed it, and let's hope we get a nice positive result against Chesterfield.
Exactly. And can I just say, well played to you, and my tooth was playing me up last week. Your solo flight was magnificent. So thank you so much for doing that.
Anytime, mate, anytime.
That's the sort of thing that like proper people say at the start rather than the end, isn't it? Oh well.
Yeah. It's Dragonheart.
Exactly. Anything goes. Except one thing is fixed. The Jay Harris Hollywood send-off.
This is Jay Harris, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio.
Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our content, and click the bell to get notifications.